my band Grin, who was a big local act doing original songs, we'd struck out in some auditions in New York City. We were going to Los Angeles to look for a record deal in about 3 weeks' time. And I'd sneak backstage to ask for advice, snuck in on Neil, crazy horse. He was playing his guitar, and I kind of pled my case. Any advice? We're going out to LA. Well, do you have any songs? I said, yeah. Hand me a guitar. I sang 5 songs from the first Grin record. He said, wow, those are good. Can you hang out with us? And he got me a cheeseburger and Coke. And I watched 4 shows over 2 nights, spent the afternoons with him. Said, look me up when you get to LA. And true to his word, he kind of took us under his wing, turned us on to David Briggs, his producer, who really was hands-on, produced our records, finally found a deal. I moved in with David after living in a rental house in East Hollywood, Normandy Avenue under the freeway. And we made our way. But, you know, the thing back then, there was no video. You have to understand, there was no internet. A lot of people didn't even have answering machines. There was an immediacy and there was no distraction. Everything was, you know, you're not at a show looking at your camera, watching your favorite artist. You're just there. And there was a presence that I can't almost describe now, living in this internet world, that was so valuable. And living with David, I saw Neil 4 or 5 days a week. I mean, I just tagged along. And, you know, Neil would come and play with us at the watering hole there. It was called the Corral, Topanga Canyon Corral. Funky, beautiful little bar. My band Grin became a house band and played there a few nights a week. Every Monday night, for people that lived in Topanga Canyon only, Taj Mahal and that great first band with Jesse Edwin Davis would play free. And of course, David and he was pretty rough guy. You know, he could be rough. David and his buddies would chase out people trying to sneak in from San Fernando Valley, and they weren't polite about it. You know, get the hell out of here. You don't live here. And it was just a beautiful thing. And it was very real and honest. Neil played with us one night. It was great. And so the next day we drive up to Neil's house. And, you know, this mentor thing, this is a good example of it. I'm feeling like on cloud 9, jammed with Neil for a whole set. You know, we were a trio at that time, power trio. Go in, Neil's like, man, that was fun. Really enjoyed playing with you. You know, the drummer is solid. You know, it was fun playing off of him and you. And then say, Nils, you need a better bass player. Fire your bass player. Get a new one. And I'm like, what? I'm here to enjoy the moment of last night. I'm not here to be educated by these brilliant, you know, ruthless, savvy young greats. And it was just a great example. Like, it's not like, you know, some guy in high school said, oh, yeah, that was good. Maybe you should. I said, it was Neil Young and David Briggs. He played with us on stage. So what was I going to say? I couldn't say anything. We went and got a better bass player. And it's just, there was an honesty, and these guys are like big brothers. And I was around so much living with David that kind of stigma went away, where of course I was nervous and like, oh my God, you know, trying to get something going. I'm a high school dropout. I can barely make a living, but my heart's in seeking this. And those 2 guys brought an honesty, but a friendship that really just indelibly stamped me. Like a year later, I'm 18. We're making this album after the Gold Rush. Want you to be in the core band, playing guitar, singing piano. I'm like, wait a minute, what did you say? I'm not a professional piano player. But there was an honesty there. And they said, look, Nils, we know you. We know you played classical accordion for 10 years. You won contests, you know, and we think you can handle the simple parts we want. And at that point, you just shut up and say, yes, thank you. You're scared. I practiced constantly. They'd take lunch breaks. I never left what's called the Gold Rush upright that, you know, I've just played recently with Neil. You know, it shows the Gold Rush upright, 18. Now I'm still playing it, you know, 50 years later. But I realize now, I don't know how much they thought it through, but Greg Reeves, extraordinary bass player, we got to be buddies and do these 2 guitar acoustic things together. He never released them. It was very beautiful, kind of Motown-esque, beautiful songs Greg would write. But Greg was underneath, like Jamie Jamerson School of Bass, a lot of movement, deep pocket, but movement, coloring the songs. And Ralphie, solid and simple, and me on piano, very simple and solid at my most creative. I was deep into it. I worked and created things that were still out of the way and left enormous space for Neil's voice, his guitar, and the groove. And there was a spatial thing going on that maybe they thought that through and just, hey, let's throw Nils on an instrument he doesn't know about. Keep it simple. Because, you hire a great piano player. I don't even know if you could pay or coach them to play that simple, right? Because you get these ideas and these great songs. Anyway, it worked out beautifully, but very young age, I was lucky to have these two guys as mentors. And still to this day, I mean, I feel like Briggs is around every time we get together. We just did a show recently, and Briggs is always there looking over our shoulder. We talk about him. Ben Keith, Elliot Roberts, a dear friend and manager who was in that room when I walked in on him way back when they're on their first tour. A lot of history. And but 55 years on the road, there's been no more powerful imprint than at that early age, spending lots of time, years, with Neil Young and David Briggs as mentors and producers and fellow musicians.